Good evening. My name is Danny Lakowski, and this is my video response to the movie Whale Rider. To start with, I love this film. I felt it was very, very modern and approachable. The CGI and special effects, while very, very minor in the movie, really helped the mythology come to life. In the past, we've studied other cultures from nearby areas that have used puppets and shadows, and that's one thing, and they can get very fantastic. But I think that seeing it live, even if it's just a few seconds of the movie, really helped the story come alive for the viewer, and I really enjoyed that. The characters were very easy to connect with also. There was a point where Pei was not allowed to help her father with mechanical repair on the boat's engine, and that reminded me of when I was young and my own father got really upset with my mother because on my birthday I asked for a doll, and he ranted and raved and stormed around saying, "No boy of mine will have a doll. It'll make him, a sissy. It'll make him grow up gay." And I think that in a way that was very, very similar to the traditions that her grandfather was expressing. It was not within the gender roles. And that made it very easy to see where she was coming from. The movie also made it very, very obvious how the culture was facing extinction. The way of life was not profitable, and it was no longer easy. And so it was easy to see why the grandfather was so worried. The culture and tradition was disappearing as the younger generations saw the outside world and how much better life could be just by switching to, a more modern living. The carving on I'm going to butcher this, I'm sorry, Warinau, Warinua, and the boat's prow and the waka papa, they all showed the dedication of the prior generations of Maori, which makes it easy to see why the grandfather was so worried. His male successors had little to no interest in preserving these old ways, which would have meant a more traditional life, like I said, very practical, but it wasn't prosperous. I mean, the kids were at school without even wearing shoes, and no one batted an eye. And the idea of having a female chief was just another step away from those old ways. And it's a slippery slope. One concession to modern life is one more chance for tradition to slip away and disappear. And to be honest, the carving in the Marai, the tribal house, if that is any indication of how much history that they have stored there and the tradition that they have to lose, they have a lot to lose. And so it's depressing. But at the same time, I do think the grandfather might be a little overprotective and short-sighted. With the rituals like the haka, which originated as a war dance, but now is used in the beginning of sporting events, it shows that, there are occasions where tradition can be changed and adapted and not lost. The basic idea they're trying to get across, the origin of it is still there. It still stands for what it did, just used in a different way. And I think it's also important to note that, when a culture has traditions based around warfare, it means that there was a good chance that they lost. And large swaths of the male folk were killed, which meant, there's a good chance that in the past there were only women left to carry on these traditions, which, I think the grandfather might have overlooked or forgotten about or just plain ignored. The final tradition that really stood out in the movie was the toy, the ornate whale's tooth necklace that the grandfather attempted to have a successor retrieve from the ocean. And he said it was a whale's tooth, but as far as I'm aware, whales have baleen and not teeth. So I'm wondering if it's artistic license or if I just am not aware of whale's teeth in general. But it was beautifully carved, and it was a beautiful thing to have the girl hear the voice of the whale telling her to go get it, even, without any preparation or anything. Like, she just went and did it. And that was really a great part of the story. I enjoyed that a lot. I think the other thing that was really important about jewelry and that sort of thing, the toy, was, and it's probably just something minor that I noticed, but at the end of the movie, one of the women dancing and singing as they launched the new ship, she had a tongue ring. And I thought that was just another, like, little hint, little sign that, the way of life is changing. But it's not being lost or forgotten. It's just being modernized a bit. To be honest, I found her story to be very, very sad. I'm not close to my family. I don't have traditions of my own, and I really don't have rituals. I don't have children, and I don't know that any of the stuff that has been passed down to me, the little that it is, will ever be passed on. I work while I'm on campus 4 days a week from 7 in the morning until 8 p.m. at night, and I can't help but wonder if I'm not perpetuating the problem myself by not having a legacy, but I don't know what to do about that at this point. Maybe it's time to make a change. I think it's important that we do notice that, ritual is a way of preserving history, but we need to be very, very careful that ritual does not self-select its own demise. I think that was my big takeaway from the movie. Very, very enjoyable, even if it did make me sad for my own story. Thank you for your time. Have a great evening.